Engineers and forensics experts who were given unprecedented access to the Simpson-Goldman murder scene have assembled this scenario.
You're seeing an overhead aerial shot of the Bundy Drive geometry of this section of town where you can see there's a number of condos side by side. This area is where the murder occurs. In reality, it's covered up with trees. There are steps and a gate and a dirt area beside the front entryway and a patio. But we took the tree out so you could see that. Now we're going to put the tree in because the night of the murder, the tree provides incredible shade and it's extremely dark in this area. At this point, Mr. Goldman comes up to the gate, punches it, and rings the doorbell. Nicole Simpson leaves her condo, and she actually leaves the front door ajar to come down and open the gate. There's obviously a speakerphone, and she knows who her visitor is. Literally, the assailant has to come from the patio area, or the physical arrangements of the subjects make no sense. The way he attacks them immobilizes them both. He hits the right side of Mr. Goldman's face with his left hand and does so very hard. There's a substantial bruise on the right side of his face. Simultaneously or very soon thereafter, we believe the assailant hits Nicole Simpson on the left side of her face with the butt of his knife, the pommel. And that knocks her right side of her head into the wall. We believe that knocks her out, which enables the assailant now to come down and deal with the number one threat, which is the young, able, and in pretty good shape Mr. Goldman. We postulate that he puts the point of the knife behind Mr. Goldman's head and actually uses the knife like a fork with his hand over the mouth to raise Mr. Goldman to his feet. The medical examiner has testified that that wound alone would have been sufficient to kill Mr. Goldman if nothing else had been done to him. It's obvious from the medical evidence that the assailant has a hand over Mr. Goldman's mouth, is having a talk with Mr. Goldman, and is emphasizing his points with the knife. The next fatal blow received by Mr. Goldman is a plunge right over his heart, hitting him in the left side of his torso. Another thrust, again from the back, upwards under the rib cage, which is also a fatal thrust. And he takes a final knife blow in this side, another fatal wound. And we postulate he falls away into the fence. We see abrasion marks down the back of his scalp, which we believe is a result of falling down the fence. And then he falls over, and that is literally the position he is found by the police the next morning. With Mr. Goldman dealt with, the assailant is now free to turn his attention to Nicole. The assailant uses the same technique to lift her as he does Mr. Goldman. Hand over mouth, most important. It's clear, again, that the assailant is talking to Nicole Simpson. The reason we know this is before the final fatal cut of her throat, there are 3 other small cuts on her throat parallel to where the fatal blow is going to be administered. It's clearly, again, torture. The final cut across her throat is going to be delivered with her head cocked substantially back. And the strength in that cut is enormous. And by that I mean she is going to receive a single slice to the front of the throat that is going to be so deep it is going to nick her spinal cord. That requires tremendous strength for a single cut. I don't care how sharp your knife is. The assailant notices he has lost his wool cap. And in the animation, he touches his head. Unlike our animation, which has got enough light level for you to see what's going on, in the real scene, this was very, very dark, and it's a dark wool cap. He's trying to feel for the wool cap. He can't feel anything through the gloves. He has to take the gloves off to feel for the wool cap. By taking off both gloves and not being careful about it, he actually ends up leaving a glove behind and not retrieving the wool cap. We speculate that something disturbed him in his search and cut it short, whether it be a dog barking or some neighbor's voice or something. When the investigators arrive, they're going to find Nicole's body in this position, Mr. Goldman's in this one. They're going to find the knit skull cap here. They're going to find a glove very close by it, Mr. Goldman's pager, and his keys are all going to be found in these relative positions. We believe this to be the most detailed reconstruction done to date. We hope it remains the standard by which all other reconstructions are judged by, even the prosecutions.
Of course, an animation from the O.J. Simpson defense team would show a different conclusion. But for this animation, failure investigators used evidence presented in court, autopsy reports, and detailed data they gathered from the scene of the murders.
The medical evidence is literally the most important to establishing this scenario of the crime. The choreography, the movement of the characters through the scene, has been driven by the medical evidence, because the choreography has to produce the wounds and they have to be produced in a certain order. The hat is found with, I believe the number is 26 African-American hairs in it. There doesn't seem to be any contrary testimony or even dispute over the hat as belonging to the assailant, so we merely followed the physical evidence of the scene.